Babar Saab, you refer to values. So where are these values coming from? So for example, there are many leaders in Pakistan in the business context, in the academic context, in the political and economic context. And it would appear for a novice like me that they are subscribing to a different sets of values. For you, where are the sets of values coming from?
Well, I mean, I was very lucky. My parents were the main sort of people who inculcated these values in us. And one kept on meeting people who had similar kind of experience and similar. I'll tell you a very interesting story. You know, Ferguson's, you've heard of Ferguson's, they are the leading company of chartered accountants and auditors. They are one of the partners at the time of partition was a gentleman by the name of Chapman. And he told me the story. His father was a missionary, and Chapman grew up in Allahabad. And he said one day he was going to school on a bicycle. And if you haven't been to UP, you know, we have a Tonga here. In UP, they have a vehicle called Ikka, which meant only a one person sat in it.
Okay.
It was a single person, and he was hanging on to the Ikka while he was bicycling. His father saw it. When he came home, he said, "Why were you hanging on to that Ikka? Did you pay the fare?" You know, I mean, this was the something that he narrated to me to sort of warn me as a young person. I was maybe 25 or 26 years old starting a business. He said, this is what his father told me. And I can tell you, I used to play polo at that time. And he had his representative here in Lahore who was doing our audits. And he sent him a message, make sure that Mr. Babar Ali's polo expenses are not being charged to the company. You know, these are things that we weren't doing it, but he was very vigilant. And this is how you keep on learning from people that you interact with.
You, as a founder of LUMS, what would be your advice to other founders and rectors and possibly vice chancellors, how and what they can do to develop faculty members and academic administrators who are role model in ethics?
Well, one is merit. He or she has to be absolutely, have the highest credentials as far as their academic qualification is concerned. Then their own behavior. They have to be, their end product is a student. And they have to be helpful. I keep on repeating the story about one of my very favorite professors at Harvard, Jim Austin, that Zahoor, you knew him. And I used to visit him whenever I went to Boston. And in his office, on his door, as a reminder to him, he said, "Have you helped any student today?" So, I mean, I have taken on that on myself. Why should it just be a student? Have you helped anybody today? And there's nothing more rewarding than to hold somebody's hand to help them cross the street, or help them cross a channel, or help them to, overcome their business problems.
Was there any single or more than single experience in your life which you considered a single major ethical challenge where you were faced with a trade-off?
No, luckily, I mean, because I won't dabble in anything otherwise, but I've seen people who were, I give you one example. My closest friend at H.N. College was Harcharan Singh. He was a Sikh. And in around 1941, 41, there was this Quit India movement started by the Congress for the British to leave. And Mahatma Gandhi went on on fast unto death. So everybody was, and my friend Harcharan, he was a nationalist in the sense that he was a follower of the Congress party. So he wrote a letter to Mahatma Gandhi to say that we are praying for you and I come from Eastern College and this and that. And that letter of course was intercepted by the intelligence agency and they sent it back to the principal. He said Eastern College is supposed to educate people who are loyal to the British, and here is a student who has written a letter to somebody who wants the British to leave. So Mr. Barry, who was the principal, called Harcharan and said, Sonny, did you write any letter to any politician? He said, yes sir. What did you write? So he narrated exactly. He said, you know, you are studying, there will be plenty of time for you to get into politics later on. While you are here, you just concentrate on your studies. He did that. So it was all forgotten. Harcharan partition took place. Harcharan went, was belonging to Firozpur, which was on the other side. He went into politics. He became a minister. And the first time he went to his village as a minister, the local sub-inspector of police, Thanedar, came to salam him. And he brought a file that was in the Thana. A letter from Mr. Barry to the DC of Firozpur to say that here's a snake in the grass, you have to watch him.
So he did.
This is the kind of vigilance that the British had even on students at Eastern College. They wanted to make sure that they are. But look at Harcharan, his honesty. He never apologized to Mr. Barry. He said, I wrote to him because I revere Mr. Gandhi.
I experienced here at REDC, for example, in the past 3 or 4 years. Sometimes I teach leadership development and team management to C-suite or C-1 level managers and leaders in Pakistan. And Babar Sahib, 99% of them or 98% of them happen to be men. So is that to do with our system in which women do not have equal opportunity?
Yeah, I think there has been a general bias against hiring of women, but it's now is turning around. One of the things that I would suggest at the REDC, you teach Sadi.
Yes, go back to the basics you see in terms of, yes.
I spent 9 years at Eastern College, and the only thing I remember is Sadi, which was a minor subject that I studied. He tells you everything in life.
Philosophy, wisdom,
giving, piety.
Yeah, those are the things which are totally out of our curriculum.
I think there should be
at all levels.
A lesson on Sadi.
Yeah, and part of the leadership. At all levels. Yeah. So again, coming back to the business side, the same challenges are there in business organizations. That how do you develop people? How do you establish those norms? So you have been instrumental in creating large organizations, helping them grow and develop. To what extent you think, if you had to do it all over again on the ethical dimension, what would you do differently to make sure that that ethical model that you have in mind is reinforced and maybe enhanced in these organizations?
I won't do anything different.
So the same thing.
While I was, for instance, the Fertilizer Corporation, I can tell you a very interesting kind of challenge I had. Mr. Bhutto, was the president, and he was all powerful, and he was very friendly with a Greek businessman who settled in Paris by the name of Andrei Moutsopoulos. Andrei was a very clever businessman. Though he was Greek, he went to Paris and he told them that he had very good relations with Pakistan, so they appointed him as agent for many of the French, Mirage, for instance, the plane and this and that. And also he was representing a French machinery manufacturer called Crusoe. They had supplied fertilizer plant to Multan before I took over. And we got money from government to expand that plant. And of course, Cruiser Loire was very keen to get the order. And I discussed with our engineers there, and they said they have had nothing but trouble with this plant, and it has never worked properly. It has never delivered what it's supposed to do, and we will not recommend that we buy a Cruiser Loire plant. So one day the minister, Mr. Rafi Raza, called me and he said, what have you decided about this Multan plant? I said, we are still evaluating. There was an American company, there was a British company, and there was an Italian company. And I said, and I can tell you it's not going to go to Cruiser Loire, and that is, he's the favorite of the president. And I said, you better go and tell the president that if he insists on Cruiser Loire, then he has to look for another chairman for the Fertilizer Corporation. He said, you mean to, are you serious? I said, yes, you go and tell him that. And a week later, I got a telephone call from Rafi Raza. He said, I've talked to the president. He said, let him do what he wants to do.